All right, thanks, Darrell. As per usual, I'll do a quick sound check, make sure you guys can hear. All right. Good evening. Yeah, we're kind of. I saw some. It's. I mean, we're kind of stupid, in a good way, because I think most of the time when there's webinars, they're all pre-recorded. For whatever reason, we do them live. I don't know why. I mean, our life would be probably a lot easier if we just did one webinar as a pre-recorded message and then just did that. But I think part of it is that it's just the markets. So if you're talking about the markets, to me, talking about the markets in terms of what happened last week or the week before is irrelevant and useless. You've got to talk about what's happening right now. And the only way to talk about what's happening right now is to do it right now. So anyway. Yeah, for sure. So let me get my drawing tool going here, and let's get started here. So yeah, and these are always recorded. You know, the funny thing is I think at some point we're going to do a list of our top 10 either frequently asked or most asked questions. But we do record every webinar, and that is probably the most frequent question we get is this webinar being recorded? And then what stop should I use? Those are the actually two most common questions. Yeah, no, I actually look, and I enjoy this stuff. I learn by doing, so this is good too. So anyway, there's that. And then one of my processes here is I've been trying to create a welcome page that has welcome in every language. Now, I know I'm missing some languages, but I'm trying my best. Last time I did have somebody tell me that I was missing Klingon. So I believe that this is Klingon right there. So anyway, just making sure that we got everybody covered. That's funny, Jonathan. All right, so let's just dive into this. Yeah, and so what I do during the classes is that I have people from obviously all over the world that are interested in trading, which, by the way, is one of the things I love about trading. I was at a cocktail party not too long ago, and I mean I've got a lot of different friends, different political views, different races, different outlooks. I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, this is Austin, Texas. Everybody gets along. And but what's interesting is that people will sit there and argue about their political views and argue about, wherever they live or their part of the world or what this country's doing. But when it comes to trading, everybody is on the same page, right? There are no differences when it comes to trading because we all have the same goal in mind. We want the freedom that it creates to provide freedom for ourselves, for our families, and all that stuff. And so anyway, that's part of why I love it, because you can have all these diverse opinions, you can have these point of views that create arguments and destroy families, but when it comes to trading, everybody's aligned and everybody's on the same page, which I love. So I think that's cool. Got throw another shrimp on the Barbie. All right, so why are we here? We're just going to dive right into this. This is more of a, we're just, so for those of you that are newer, I mean, just the general keys to becoming a top trader, if you didn't know, is, and here's the thing, the biggest scam on the planet out there right now is that, banks will sit there and say that, getting 2% a year is a good rate, or 1% a year is a good rate. And it's stealing. And if you have a little bit of knowledge and you want to trade conservatively, it is a piece of cake to get 20% a year, okay? If you want to get more aggressive and focus on what I call 2.5% a week, then you're talking about 120+% a year, only risking about 10% of your capital, okay? So I hate banks. I despise them. So anything I can do to have people take money out of banks and take control of their own finances, I'm for. So, and no offense to any bankers, I obviously work with banks. So it's, but I'm about the individual and what, the individual is kind of taking control of their finances. So develop or utilize proven trading setups and systems as part of your daily money-making routine. And then more importantly here, we'll talk more about this too, is just knowing when to stand aside. One of the biggest questions I'm getting right now is like, the markets are rallying, but God, they're kind of scary. You know, how much do I bet? I'm only 20% invested right now. That's 80% cash. Okay. When you're this extended, and I'll talk more about this, this is how you survive in this kind of area, because on the days when the NASDAQ's down 100 points, like yesterday, you've got 80% cash to take advantage of those opportunities. And when you're extended like this, the odds of those opportunities happening increase exponentially. Okay. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. But that's the kind of stuff that you've got to know, right? Or you're screwed. Knowing when to trade normally and conservatively, and knowing when to hang on for a bigger trade. Okay, that's part of it. And then knowing what the computer-generated algorithms are following so you don't get run over by them. So a couple things like that. So what we're going to talk about tonight. Now, just as a question here, I recently did a class that utilized some of these tools. So how many people here were not in the class? Because I know some of you were in the class and some were not. I just want to get a sense of how many people were not in the class. Okay, no, that's awesome. So what I want to do tonight is just talk. So during this class, we did some trading, and by the second day, we made a ton of money. And I just want to show you just the tools. Like, look, here's the tools. Take from this what you will, and we'll just dive right into it. So one of the setups that we looked at was PayPal. Okay, and so one of the key things here with the stock is, let me see here, get my pen and color. So one of the key things here with the stock is that you've got obviously a huge uptrend going here, okay? And if you look up here, you're gonna see 18 rows, and you're gonna see here that the monthly and the weekly and the 4-day and the 3-day and the 2-day and the daily and the 4-hour are all green, okay? Now, what that means, and in this case, is it measures a short period moving average and a longer period moving average. And all this means is that the short period moving average is trading above the long period moving average. Very simple, right? But if you can see that the 4-hour through the monthly is all positive, you're going to know without having to actually go and physically look at all those time frames, right? This is a 1-minute chart. I don't have to go look at all those time frames to know that this is in a strong uptrend. And that then when I see that the 3 and the 4 and the 5 all the way through the 2-hour chart are actually crossed down, where the fast moving average is below the slower moving average, I know without looking at the chart that we're having a pullback, okay, on the weekly chart. And then all I got to do is wait for the smaller time frames to turn up again. And then you're going to see it's almost like an accordion. And then it just rolls back up to where they're all green, okay? And this represents one of the best rolling opportunities out there. And it's so simple, but up to now it's been impossible to do without that tool. And so during the class that we recently did, and this was just a couple of weeks ago, these are some of the positions that we put on. Now, not all of these worked, all right? This one did not work. This one was dead money until yesterday when the markets gapped down 100 points, and then we're able to flip it out. Still have the PayPal calls, still have the Shack calls, still have Zen. We closed these out. These were day trades. Visa hit our target, Baidu hit our target, and then we had some of these as well. And so by day 2 of the class, all these positions were up $42,000 with some big moves in Baidu, some big moves in Shack, and then you can see some little moves here and there. Not all of these were making money. KBH was losing money. The VIX hedge was losing money. And by the way, when you have a hedge on, you actually want it to lose money, right? Because the whole point of the hedge is to be there in case the proverbial shit hits the fan. So if your hedge is losing money, that means all of your other positions are making money, okay? So on the day that your hedge is making, like, oh my God, my hedge is up $10,000, that's not a good thing. I mean, it's great because you're hedged, but it also means that all your longs are going to get killed. So just keep in mind, that was a big question that came up. It's like, oh my God, this hedge is not working. Great, that's your insurance. But then on Thursday, it did work, and it was super helpful. That's great, yeah. So what I want to talk about tonight is just kind of the strategy in today's market environment, because the market does continually change, and we have a very unique market right now, is that in today's market environment, how do we structure our portfolio? And this is really what it comes down to, because yeah, it's nice that Baidu was up $14,000, right? And it's nice that blah, 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 but it's really your portfolio. If your portfolio is structured correctly, then on a big down day, you're not going to freak out. Okay. But then, and you got to understand, when I say a big down day, I love to short. Okay. I love to short. The markets you can make a lot more money shorting when you're right than to the upside. But this is not a high probability shorting market at the time. So a lot of the positions I'm talking about right now are long. So I'm assuming that the uptrend is going to continue, right? But at some point, I'm going to be aggressively shorting. So just understand that when I say, you know, yeah, there's going to be times when it's moving down when it's fantastic, right? But right now, I'm mostly positions that I have are long. So right now, I'm 80% cash and I'm 20% mostly long positions with a couple of small hedges, right? So if we do have some big down days, first of all, I've got a hedge in place with those VIX calls, and I've got 80% cash. And so yesterday what I did was I picked up a bunch of Amazon on that downturn and flipped it on the upside. So we're going to talk about that. So anyway, the whole idea with this, and what these tools can help you with, is it's not so much about what's the next trade. Okay, that's part of it, but really it's more about how do I structure my portfolio for the maximum benefit to myself in any market condition. Okay, so that means a couple of things. First of all, you'll notice that this is about the maximum amount of positions that I'll have. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 positions, some of them bigger than others, depending on the setup. So the main thing here is I obviously do not have my entire account bet on one trade, and 2, I also don't have 40 positions. I think if you have 40 or 50 positions, it actually is not only very difficult to manage, but you almost offset every, you know, you'll have 20 winners, 20 losers, that kind of stuff. So I personally, this to me is kind of a good sized portfolio. All right, so here's how we do all this. So one of the things I find, especially in trading, is that everybody kind of has FOMO, and that FOMO is kind of that fear of missing out. And we've got to be able to manage that, because if we can't manage that, then what happens is we jump from position to position without following a plan, and we start chasing a dopamine hit. Okay, so here's your current trade. It's like, oh man, look at Tesla over here, and now I'm going to dump this current trade, which was perfectly fine, and go over here. And you've got to be very, very careful about that. And one of the things that you can do is have tools in place that help you stay in line. Okay, because the human animal by itself, the human brain by itself, you got to remember, the brain's primary function in a human being is to constantly scan your environment for danger, for food, or for a mate. Okay, that's how we're wired biologically. And if you are unconscious of that, then what's going to happen is you are going to be looking at the market from that same point of view. Now, the market may not make a good mate, but there's certainly plenty of things to fear. There's plenty of, you know, in terms of you know, grabbing things and stuff like that too. And that's what this comes in. So you need to have tools to kind of help you manage those natural human tendencies. Okay. So the beauty of this stuff is that I'm talking about here is that it's very, very simple. So one of the things that I really like to utilize is a very simple moving average crossover. Okay. And it's the 5 is what I use as the short moving average. And this is the EMA, or the exponential moving average. And then the longer one I use is 21, okay, and that's the longer, and I do use EMA. Now, you don't have to use these. Other combinations, of course, are 8 and 21, 8 and 34. You know, shorter one is 5 and 10, but this is what I use. So the idea with this is that if the 5 is above the 21, okay, and if you think of this on any time frame, the 5-period moving average represents the day trade. So on a daily chart, it represents the day traders. And if you're familiar with the term point of control, it's almost like the point of control for the day traders. So, you know, they're buying that pullback, and then if it breaks, it's a watershed decline. And then the 21 is kind of the point of control for the swing traders. Now, this is why the black box systems operate on these crosses. So if you get the price, so notice here, see how price drops below the 21, but the 5-period moving average does not? Oftentimes that'll slingshot higher. However, when the 5 crosses, that's typically then you get the dump. So when you get that cross, like a 1 bar down cross, it actually signals a lot of black box systems to sell. So you've got to understand this, just because, you know, the world is running on algos, and the algos are looking at this. So the bottom line here is that these moving average crosses, which are very, very simple, are important, all right? And they provide just like what I like to refer to as high probability moments in time that show a fundamental shift in both psychology and, more importantly, order flow, okay? And better yet, they work on all time frames. And if you want an edge, okay, and an edge is simply meaning giving you a higher probability of success. If you want an edge, then you need to be able to watch multiple time frames, and then you can see how these time frames roll from the small 5 and 10 and 20-minute charts to the larger 2-hour, 4-hour, and daily charts, okay, and vice versa. This can all help a trader see and have confidence in a larger movement developing or petering out. So it's, you know, hey, when to get in, when to get out. So what is the main problem with this? So the main problem with this is that if you don't have the right tools, then you've got to essentially set up a screen like this so you can see the monthly chart, the weekly chart, the 4-day chart, the 3-day chart, the 2-day chart. By the way, these 4-day, 3-day, and 2-day charts are gems, because there's a lot. Everybody's looking at the weekly chart and everybody's looking at the daily chart. There's a lot of good setups that happen in between those two that nobody looks at. Some of our best setups are coming off these 2- and 3-day charts. But then you also want to know the 4-hour chart, the 2-hour chart, the 1-hour chart, 30-minute chart, 20-minute chart, 15-minute chart, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, you might think this is overkill, but if you think about it, what we're doing is we can see something roll up from the 1 all the way through and vice versa, and that gives you an edge. So the problem with this, obviously, is that, you know, that's a lot of charts to look at, and that's just the spiders. And if you're trying to look at that on multiple symbols, the human brain can only process so much. Not only are you going to miss stuff, it's just it's not easy, okay? And in trading, it really needs to be easy. So this got me to thinking about, you know, first of all, are those hidden time frames, or can we look at those? How many time frames should we be watching? Is this cascading effect important? You know, the rolling of time frames and the other one. And then how do we take this at a glance? And so this is where Eric comes in. If you guys are familiar with Eric, he's just a really, you know, look, the guy was a fighter pilot and a nuclear physicist. So if I've got a question about an indicator, I'm confident that he can come up with a solution. So this is what he developed. You'll notice here, I'm looking at a 1-minute chart, which I never, ever look at. Like, I don't care about the 1-minute chart. However, now with this tool on a 1-minute chart, I can see the 5 and 21, okay, EMA. So you can see right here, see the purple just crossed the white. The 521 just crossed positive, okay, on the 1-minute chart. Now, I never watched the 1-minute chart. I would never know that. But now with Eric's tool, I can see there's a highlight. We just changed from red. We're about to go to green. That's what that yellow means. It's like, wow, that's crossing, okay? And so these are the NASDAQ futures. And so in the NASDAQ futures, I love watching this on the futures or the Qs, because obviously the indexes are going to drive a lot of stocks, right? And so what happens here is that, you know, when we're coming down and everything's negative, now remember here what's happening. Yeah, guess what? The 30-minute through the monthly are all positive. So this morning, it's like, oh my God, the NASDAQ's down 40 points. People are going to be scared. But what we know is that the larger time frames are positive. This is just a little temporary pullback. And the thing that's going to tell us that this pullback is over is the 1-minute chart rolls. Now, it doesn't mean that this can't roll over and die, but guess what? You can buy it here and put your stop loss here. You can trade with incredibly tight stop losses, so you can trade larger positions. So that's the whole key with this. And so you can see here on something like this, now what happens is that, you know, as you get your position, right? You get your position on the 1-minute cross, you place your stop, which is pretty tight. And then when the 2-minute crosses, you're like, man, I am good to go. All right. And then the 3-minute crosses, and it's like, okay, things are looking really good. And at this point, you can bring your stop up from the lows to the next swing low. All right. So now you're protecting your risk. And then as the crosses continue to move higher, it's giving you confidence, because what I'm looking for is that these essentially meet in the middle, right? And then you get a row of green and you're just off and running. So that's the goal with this, because it's these rolls that actually cause some of the most profitable moves on the day. All right. So if we go back here and we look at, let's see, what was it? Amazon. Was it, did we look at Amazon? PayPal. Oh, I didn't look at Amazon yet? Oh, man. Okay, I'm embarrassed now. I'm going back. There it is. Okay, so there we go. All right, so here's what we did yesterday then, using that same thing. Yeah, and I will jump in and answer some of these questions here too. So here's Amazon, right? So yesterday, Amazon gaps down. Now, we know already that Amazon is a strong stock. Okay. We also knew that, we've got all these major time frames in an uptrend. What happened this morning is that I think it was the 15 through the 1 turned red. And then once the 1 and the 2 went positive, which was right about here, we started buying call options on Amazon. Okay, so what happened then, we started buying call options, doing some put credit spreads, and then here we went from like 1708 to 1717, right? So that's a $9 move, which is pretty sweet in options. But the real payoff is, man, is this thing gonna keep on going? So we're consolidating. And I'll talk about this bottom indicator, but this bottom indicator is telling you which time frames have a squeeze. Okay, and so what happened then is like a 5-minute squeeze developed on Amazon, and it broke out. And now these options that we bought when Amazon was down 15, we're able to flip out when Amazon was up 10. Okay, that's a $25 differential, and that's huge when it comes to options. The other thing I want to point out here, this is something a little different. It's called a 10x bar. But when you break out like this, these dots are telling you that there is above average volume. Okay, so you can see how the decline, there's a couple of dots, but they dry up pretty quick. But when you get a breakout with above average volume, that's going to give you the confidence that it's going to last. Okay, this was yesterday. What happened today to Amazon? It kept up going further. So, okay, so that's the kind of thing that can be pretty important. Also, you'll notice here that we have an RAF buy. Okay, that's helped to give us some confidence here, and then some statistics here, which I'll talk more about. But what I want to talk about here is, and if you dive in here and you kind of look at this and say, okay, look, here was a dot and here was a dot. But after that, the volume to the downside dried up. Okay, momentum went from red, but more importantly, all the moving averages crossed positive, and then you got boom. So why am I showing you this? Because trading these daily rotations can be one of the most profitable trades that you do. And you'll notice here in Amazon, ended up making $38,000, almost $39,000 on that trade. And I was only in it for about 4.5 hours, give or take. So that's the kind of stuff that I like. Now, I do like these trades, you get these squeezes and the trade's going to last like 8 days. And I'll show you, and those are obviously great as well. And I'm going to show you one of those. That's my bread and butter, and that's what I'm looking for. But if I can find a stock like this where it gaps down and we're able to have confidence that we can buy it and then it's going to turn around, those are the hugest opportunities that you're going to get. And of course, in a down market, the opposite is true, where you got a down market and you get a gap up and you get the confidence that it's rolling over and you short that pig and ride it all the way into the ground. All right. So it's very, very powerful in those situations, let alone what I would just call normal situations. And then so Shake Shack. So this is a trade I'm still in. Now, this is what I would call a more normal trade. It's more normal, but at the same time, it's not quite as exciting as a $25 move in 5 hours. Okay, of course, Amazon is a huge stock, so a $25 move, it's relative, right? But so Shake Shack, here's when we got this stock during the class, this was about a $63 stock. Okay, $62, $63. And we had a squeeze. Okay, we had an RAF buy. And more importantly, we had all the moving average crosses positive. Now, we are still in a large, some of this trade, we've peeled out of some of it, but the reason we're still in it is we have confidence to stay in it. So how many times have you been in a trade and it starts to make money and you know, oh boy, I'm up $1,000, and then it's like, oh my God, now I'm down $1,000. And so the fear is a lot of times when people get into these trades that they get up like $1,000, they're like, man, that's a lot of money. And they get out because they don't have the confidence that's going to keep on going. And had they stayed into it, that $1,000 profit would have turned into a $7,000 profit. And it's so much easier to make money sitting on a winning trade that you're already in than to have FOMO, i.e. fear of missing out, and just go dive into the next shiny object that jumps by. But you've got to learn how to identify when you're in a trade that is worth holding on to. That is how you make the most money. You find a good horse and you ride that damn horse. But you've got to learn to be able to identify what's a good looking horse. And so these are the tools here that'll help when you have a situation like this where all the moving average crossovers are positive on all time frames. Like there's no reason to sell. I mean, okay, if the 1, the 2, and the 3 crossover, that's fine. Who cares? But if all these, 15, 20s on up are staying positive, then there's no crying. Okay, I said there's that movie, The League of Our Own. It's like there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in trading if you get out too soon. Okay, that was just a human error, and this is the kind of tool that can correct that. So this is Shake Shack. This is a trade I'm still in, and if you look at this, and I get, it's like one of the questions I get from people that have smaller accounts is like, well, I saw you trade Amazon. I can't trade Amazon. Well, technically it's not true. You can as a spread, but I get it. Those options are crazy. They're like $38 options. Well, here's an option for 66 cents that is now $2.50. Okay. That is a return of 278%, taking $660 and turning it into $2,500 over 8 trading days. Now my in the money calls, which I prefer, okay, I got them at $4, and they're up 152%. Now worth $10,100. Now you might be asking, well, okay, John, look, had you put all that money into the out of the money options, you'd be up a lot more. You'd be up 278% on your debit paid versus a mere 152%. Well, I get that, but the thing with out of the money options is that you have got to be on a horse that can have momentum. Okay, so if I have a squeeze and I have all the MA crosses go positive, then and only then will I buy some out of the money calls, typically a little bit longer dated, because if you're right and the stock's going to go, all right, and the stock's going to go, you're going to make exponentially a much bigger return on those out of the money calls than the in the money calls. Okay, and I always preach in the money calls because most of the time, unless you've got experience, you don't know when it's appropriate to buy out of the money calls. But these tools help you know when to buy out of the money calls, and you can make a much higher return on those out of the money calls too. So something like that too. It's being able to hold on to this stuff is good. Oh, that's good, Al. Nice double. Very nice. Oh, what about the top hats on Shack? So that's a good question. So that's just a tool that shows it's oversold. So remember, so the squeeze overrides that, but high short interest overrides that as well. So this is a high short interest stock. So think about it. All the people that are panicking, they're getting killed, they're short that stock, and now they're getting out. They don't care what price they get out. They just get out. So part of that is with the top hat, always make sure it's like, okay, there's not a squeeze and it's not high short interest. So the idea with this is that, and I think the main thing with this is that, entry, I think a lot of people, there's certainly people that could use help with their entries, okay? But recently we talked to a lot of our clients at a live event, and entries were like, you know what, I'm okay with entries. Sure, it's always good to, refine it a little bit, but I need help with exits. I need to know when to hold on, when to bail, okay? When to just cut bait and move on. It's the exits that are the hardest part, and I totally agree. So the question here then is, these moving average crosses are great because they help you catch the roll and they give you the confidence to stay in, but you also want to understand exits, all right? Now, there's other areas that I use these for. If you guys are S&P traders, I like to trade the points of control. So if you rally up to the point of control, and guess what, the moving averages start to roll on those multiple time frames, then you short this pig, right? Conversely, you know, if you come down to the point of control and you get a little bit of a bounce, okay, great, I'm going to buy it. Now it's going, and it starts to roll. You're trailing up your stop, so that's a scratch. All right, but then you get some other opportunities too. So that is good for futures trading as well as Forex trading as well. And on this day, just using my moving average crosses with the point of control is $4,600 trading a 10 lot on the S&Ps. So if you trade the futures. And then on the NASDAQ, I want to give you a quick example on the NASDAQ. And again, this is just a smaller time frame trade. But here towards the end of the day, we got a moving average cross positive starting at the 1 minute chart. We bought some contracts, able to ride it up, and all we did was watch the 2 minute go green, the 3 minute go green, the 4 minute go green. And guess what? That gave us confidence to hold on to it. So when it pulled back right here, we didn't freak out and get out. Okay, so we didn't FOGO, freak out and get out. We had the confidence to stay in because, you know, these weren't changing. And so we just rode it all the way up and booked $2,300 on a trade that lasted about 12 minutes. So that's what this kind of stuff, is good for. Another example here of Facebook. Okay, so Facebook here on the top now, I want to emphasize these are all the crossovers. So we can see here that the monthly and the weekly and the 4-day are all positive. Okay, and now what you can see how it's rolling forward. And so, you know, you get in here when the 1 and the 3 and the 4 and the 5 cross, but then when you see like the 10 and the 20 and the 60 cross, you're golden. Now, I don't know if you guys have checked Facebook, but this is during the class I did this, and now Facebook's at $205. It's still going, okay? It's still going. And for us, this was a quick trade that we did and netted $8,000 on that one. So, I think this is one we might have done during the class as well on Amazon. This was way back when it was $1,624. But Amazon, same thing. So I haven't talked much about the squeeze, so I will spend a few minutes on that. But what the squeeze does is, well, let me see if you know what, I may not have an example right there. So let me get my, let me bring up my charts. So what the squeeze does is, if we come over here and just say, okay, here is, and you'll notice there's a squeeze on the S&Ps right now. But what the squeeze does is let's go over to the Qs. Okay, so if you're not familiar with this, I love the squeeze because what happens is that if you see these red dots right here, so these red dots, what they do is that they just tell you, and what the squeeze does is it measures the Bollinger Bands and its relationship to the Keltner channels. Right now, I know that may sound boring, but why that's important is that when the Bollinger Bands narrow, okay, to the point where they're trading inside, oops, so that's the, I'll see if I can do different colors here. So the yellow is going to be the Bollinger Bands, and the purple here will be the Keltner channels, okay? So boom, boom. So the Keltner channels measure a stock's average true range, while the Bollinger Bands measure the stock's 2 standard deviation move, okay? And so what happens essentially is that when the 2 standard deviation move is now trading inside of the stock's average true range, that creates a compression of volatility. Okay, and if there's a compression of volatility, what that's doing is building up energy. Okay, and what happens when something builds up energy? It needs to be released, right? So the red dots are telling you that the Bollinger Bands have contracted to the point where they're trading inside of the Keltner channels, so that this is building up energy, in this case, on the weekly chart. It doesn't matter what time frame. The main thing to remember with the squeeze is that when it triggers, it's typically good for 8 to 10 bars, okay? So on a weekly chart, that is 8 to 10 weeks, okay? Never, ever, ever fight the weekly squeeze. Now, if you're trading a squeeze on a 1 minute chart and that's 8 to 10 bars, then you're gonna be in a trade for 8 to 10 minutes, right? So the larger the time frame, the more powerful and the longer the move is going to be. So, but that's it. That's all it is. So it's incredibly powerful. And what I like about this then is that if you look at, so you can see, I mean, you can see the move here, right? So here's the squeeze. You know, the Qs have been consolidating here, doing absolutely nothing for a long time. The squeeze is telling us that this energy is built up with that first green dot. If the histogram is above 0, it's a long signal, and you can see what happens. Okay, so at the beginning of this, I talked about, yeah, you know what, I'm in 80% cash. In a situation like this, I'm getting as close as I can to 100% fully invested, because that's the most money you're going to make. All right, and it happens, you know, and you know, it happens like that. So when we did Shake Shack, we didn't have a weekly squeeze, but we did have a daily squeeze. All right, so that daily squeeze is pretty solid. Now, let me bring up Amazon, because I thought maybe there's a squeeze on that right now. Maybe not. No, there's a 3-minute squeeze, which is not, you know, that's not a game changer by any sense. Let me see, Google. Google's one I have on right now. I can't remember if there's any squeezes. No, but so Google, you know, very positive on the upper time frames, got a little bit of sell-off today, so I'd obviously be looking for that moving average cross to go higher. Let's see, what was the one? We were looking at one earlier today. Oh, Alta. So Alta, this is one I don't have, but if you look at this, look at these beautiful squeezes. So we can see right here, now this is a daily chart. This is a good looking squeeze there, Ed. That's a great looking squeeze. But in addition to the daily chart, guess what? There's a bonus squeeze on the 2-day chart. That just means it's going to be that much more powerful. And then there's a 2-hour squeeze. Now, what I like about this is that when I can see something where there's a daily and a 2-day squeeze and a 2-hour squeeze, the 2-hour squeeze is essentially the fuse, okay, that can light the bomb. All right, because the 2-hour squeeze, if it fires long and starts the price action going, then guess what? That's going to impact the Bollinger Bands on the daily chart and cause the bomb to explode, which is that daily squeeze. So that to me is fantastic. And you can, unless you're looking at all those time frames, you're not going to be able to see that. So if we go over here and say, all right, well, let me look at the 2-hour. What are you talking about, a 2-hour squeeze? Look at this beauty. So, you know, a 2-hour squeeze, and again, it doesn't mean it's going to be like, it could be some huge thing. Like here was a 2-hour squeeze, and we went from 250 to 260. That's 10 points, okay? In the world of options, that's called a lot of money. Here it's a little shaky, you know, when you got in. And, you know, squeezes go to the downside too if it, you know, fires off short. So here's what I'm looking at is you've got the momentum going here on this 2-hour chart, and that if this thing can get going and then it fires off the bomb of the daily chart, which then fires off the bomb of the 2-day chart, then this could turn into something pretty special. So that's the kind of stuff that I get excited about. And I love talking to you guys about it, because if I run home and tell my wife about this, she is going to glare at me because she has no interest in this at all. So like, I guarantee you she's not signed into this webinar tonight. And I appreciate that, because, you know, it's good to have, you know, you don't want to be so involved in the same thing that you have nothing else to talk about, right? So anyway, this kind of stuff, you know, gets me excited. Now, what about the 4-minute and the 5-minute chart? So for the 5-minute chart, it's important, but remember, this is a signal that would only last about 30 minutes. But if this 5-minute squeeze fires long, that could, you know, ignite the 2-hour chart, which it ignites that one too. All right. All right, let me see the questions there. On your squeeze comment, did you say after it fires, you generally have 8 to 10 bars to go in that direction? Yes. I generally do not hold on for that long. Generally by, you know, the 5th to 6th bar, I'm starting to scale out. But on average, you have 8 to 10 bars. Not all the time. It certainly is an average. There was a recent, what was another really solid squeeze there? Yeah, you know, Bob, that's the other thing too, is that what happens is a lot of the times during the day, like on any given day, there's probably 20 trades that you could do, but really the ones that are going to make you the most money are like 3 or 4. And so the part of what these tools do is they help you make decisions. They help you protect yourself from yourself, right? Now what happens is, like, because at the end of the day, once you understand a high probability setup, then just focus on finding the setups. And, you know, Tesla may be the stock of the day and it's up $18. But if you're honest with yourself and you're trading it, you're just gunslinging, right? You may make money, you may not, but you don't have a plan. You're just like, oh my God, it's going higher. I think I'm going to buy some. But when you have something like this and you've got crossovers and you've got squeezes, you've got a plan. You know, you've got confidence that you can put your money behind this. So that's what I'm interested in. All right. So let me come back over here now. Okay, so we're taking, okay. So what I want to talk about here next then is exits. Okay, so if you guys are familiar with Fibonacci extensions, a lot of times, you know, when I see like a squeeze or something like that, we'll definitely talk. We'll talk more about some entry stuff too. But when I see like a squeeze, right? So let me just bring the charts back because that's just so much easier. So if we come back over here to PayPal, so again, this is one that I'm in, and I can see like, okay, I'm looking at this going, well, here's the prior swing high, here's the prior swing low, and the 1272 extension is up here at $90.71. My only concern with this is that I'm also, do you see these bands here? They're also right there, okay? Now, so that's a problem. However, you'll also notice here that what I'm trading here is a weekly squeeze, and the weekly squeeze is just fired. So I am looking for some power behind this weekly squeeze and looking at that. But what the problem I found is that sometimes the 1272 extension works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the 1618 extension works and sometimes it doesn't. And so the biggest trick I found is that you get into a trade, all right, and then, you know, so here's the high, okay, and here we are right here, and here's a squeeze. Now, sometimes it comes up and fails, okay? Sometimes it goes up to the 1272 extension and peters out, and then sometimes it explodes higher, okay? So if you knew in advance which setup you're going to get, you could actually know much better how to position size and how to manage your trade, right? And so that was the kind of stuff where I got interested in. I was like, okay, could you give me the odds, please, on whether or not the 1272 extension and the 1618 extension are going to be like that? Oh, we do have some screenshots in TradeStation. They're similar. They're a little different. You know, they're just different infrastructures, but it's the same idea there. All right, so look at this chart of Adobe. Okay, here's a squeeze. Squeezes are great. So typically when I see a squeeze, what I'm doing is I'm trying to buy calls near the 21 period moving average or the 8 if it's strong. Okay, and then generally what I'm doing is I'm looking for a move to the 1272 extension. Now you'll notice here that what Adobe did instead is it came up and made a little bitty new high and then abruptly puked. Okay, now what that means is if you bought it here and your target's here and your stop loss is down here, you went from having a nice profit to a full loss, okay? And that sucks on a couple of different levels. First of all, keep in mind what you're managing is your net liquidating value. And when you go from, say, $1,000 profit to a $2,500 loss, okay, you didn't lose $2,500. Your net liquidating value changed by $3,500, okay? It is so critical that if you have gains, that you're able to keep those gains, because the impact of the net liquidating value, if you go from having a gain going all the way to a stop, all right? You didn't lose $2,500, you lost $3,500. So that's the thing to kind of keep in mind. So you want to prevent that. It's like, man, had I known that in advance, I would have taken my profits much sooner, okay? Now, here's another example looking at NVIDIA. So NVIDIA has a squeeze, okay, and this is a lovely stock to trade. And you can see here, it doesn't really get that close. It gets about 10 points away from its 1272 extension and pukes it up. Man, had I known that in advance. But if we look at Alibaba, and you got a squeeze, in this case, yeah, we rocked that 1272 extension and we rocked that 1618 extension. Here, in this case, had I been a nervous Nelly and taken my profits right away, I would have left a lot of money on the table. So with these three examples, I just want to know, is there a way for me to know in advance the odds of where this thing is going to peter out, okay? So the question here is, what if you knew in advance the likelihood of your stock hitting the proposed default static target, like the 1272 extension, okay, or whatever resistance or support you're watching. But also, what if you knew in advance the likelihood your stock exceeding that proposed target, okay, or your stock failing to even get near the target? So suddenly this becomes an entire different ball game, because it means how much money you could put in your pocket and keep in your pocket. All right, and here's the biggest thing, is it gives you confidence. Okay, so if you get a stock that barely makes new highs and pukes, that kills your confidence. But if you knew in advance that that was actually highly likely to happen, it's going to make you feel good and be able to manage your money a lot better. But if you also knew, on the other hand, that if it was going to poke up through new highs and race up to the 1618 extension, that's going to give you confidence to hold on through the wiggles. All right, so that's what I'm talking about in terms of being able to manage something like that, okay? So what I want to talk about here are what's called the profit zones, the dynamic profit zones. So you'll notice right here that we did get a squeeze, and we came up and we just kind of petered out right at these dotted lines, okay? And when we hit those dotted lines, we petered out and we rolled back over. It's like, okay. Great. Well, what are, you know, I'll talk about what those dotted lines are in here in a second. But then to show you the NVIDIA example, you can see it's like, okay, here's the 1272 extension, but we pop into those dotted lines and look at what happens. Okay, that is the 21 period moving average. Now, the 21 EMA. Now, if you guys aren't aware of this, that 21 period EMA is what I call the mean. And the markets always revert back to the mean at some point, okay? In a quiet market without a squeeze, what happens is we come up to the profit zones, kiss it goodbye, and revert back to the mean. We come up to the profit zones, kiss it goodbye, revert back to the mean. Come up to the profit zones, kiss it goodbye, revert back to the mean. And then same thing, if we dip below it, we revert back to the mean. So this is a huge concept to understand. And it's just understanding that what happens is when we get into these zones, the likelihood of it reverting back to the mean versus continuing on to its target has increased exponentially. Okay, and I'm going to say that one more time. If you get into these zones, the likelihood of it going back to its mean versus going to its target increases exponentially. That's some good information to know. So now, if we come back and we look at Alibaba, what happened on this particular trade is we did have a squeeze, but guess what? The profit zones were already up in this area, so that gave us confidence that we could hold on to that position. So that's what I was talking about there. And that's the kind of stuff that I like there. So these are some screenshots from 3 weeks ago. Okay, now Costco had kind of a crazy move, but here's a squeeze. Here's profit zones. Okay, the stock's at $197, and the profit zones were at 207. Now I know I think it was like some earnings or something came out on it, so it had some really kind of crazy moves. And I don't really hold through earnings, but what you'll notice here is that ultimately what happened is that even through all that, Costco slammed into its profit zones. Okay, so those profit zones, and here's the squeeze. So the profit zones just give you confidence. It's like, okay, that this thing could push through all of that trouble and get up there again. And you can see that this is from, a couple weeks ago. Here's the squeeze. Here we are, and it's the profit zones that can give you the confidence to hold through that. Okay. So, and I'll definitely talk about the logic behind it for sure. Now, I showed this a couple of weeks ago, and everybody said, John, you are absolutely freaking crazy. There is no way, okay? There is no way that Amazon is going to hit its profit zones of $1,685, okay? This was back at the beginning of June. Here's a daily squeeze. Here's an RAF. Hey, the profit zones are up here at $1,685. Yeah, John, you're crazy. Okay, so well, if we go back here and we look at Amazon, not only did it exceed $1,685, but because of the power of the daily squeeze, it kept on going, and here we are at $1,750. Okay, you got to imagine. So here's the squeeze, right? Look what the squeeze. There's a nice little consolidation That's what leads to the squeeze. $1,600 to $1,750. You only need one trade like that a quarter to have a fantastic year, okay? This is the difference between having the confidence to hold on for new all-time highs versus worrying that this thing is going to peter out. All right. So the bottom line here is that, is there a way to listen on an iPhone? Yeah, Currency, here's a link for you if you want to check out these indicators. If you just go to simplertrading.com/bundle, and I'll get to that, but that's the link for them. So the bottom line is the stocks do not move the same every time for every setup. Sometimes they have fantastic moves, sometimes they have average moves, and sometimes they just fizzle out. Well, now with these tools, there's no more guessing or hoping for a bigger move. If there's a smaller target, great. Now you know in advance and you can plan accordingly and not make the mistake of watching a winner turn into a full thing loser. The other tool here then is the deep stats tool. Now I'm just going to tell you real quick, this tool ain't for everyone. Okay, this is for I can be a data geek. So if you're a data geek or an engineer or into statistics, this is a fun tool. I'll be perfectly honest and say you don't need this. This is just really if you want to dive in. So those profit zone targets that we're looking at are calculated through this tool. Okay, so that's how that works. This tool then breaks it out, but it also gives you additional data. So for example, for Adobe, it says, guess what? The best pullback moving average is the 13-period moving average. So anytime it pulls back there, you buy it. And by the way, guess what? Anytime it crosses the 21-period moving average, it typically moves 4% over the next 9 bars, okay? So that's good information, and you can see some of that in the profit zones, but if you're a geek and like to really dive into the math here, that's what the deep stats tool is, okay? So you can see here for Amazon, this is again a couple weeks ago. It's saying essentially, look, if it breaks back above its 8 EMA, on average it'll move 5.4% or $86.52 over 4 bars. Well, what's happened? It's actually done almost exactly that, okay? So that's powerful data to have as well. So all these tools are, they help to provide an edge on entries, an edge on exits, an edge on understanding normal behavior for the stock, as well as statistical proof, okay? It also means less mistakes and less errors, and if we can make less mistakes and errors on exits over time, this is going to have a big compounding effect on our account. So if you think of your account over time compounding, right? And I talked earlier about that effect on your net liquidated value, where if you've got a stock that's up $1,000, but then it peters out and you get your full stop out at $2,500, that actually hits your account by $3,500. If in fact you would have known in advance to take that profit, okay, over time, that's the kind of stuff that has an exponential effect on your account. Even if you're doing really good, mistakes just essentially keep your gains, pressed down. And so that's something that over time is very useful. So it's continuous improvement. That's what it's about. We got to have an edge, and anything that gives us an edge is going to compound our gains over time. So we've got some early adopters that have been using this. And here's the feedback that they have. And we've actually gotten a ton of great feedback on these because they're just super powerful. It's like, one is, hey, these are game changers. They complement the other awesome indicators I use, and I'm now getting consistent profits, and I'm able to have my trades positive for this year finally. And then the other one is, look, hey, don't share this with too many people, please. This is the most powerful thing I think you guys have built aside from the voodoo lines. So some very good feedback. So what we're doing here tonight is that if you guys are interested in these tools, I think it's a fairly reasonable investment for the potential ROI that you're going to get almost immediately on your results. Here's what we have. So if you go to, and you have to type it in, if you go to simplertrading.com/bundle, that'll take you to a page where you can see this choice. So there's 3 bundles here. There's dynamic, there's explosive, all right? And I think for explosive, there are some things that'll help take care of that at the drugstore, and also strategic. So for the dynamic bundle, which is just $497, you actually get the multi-cross indicator, Okay, remember, that's all of the 18 time frames for the moving average crosses, plus the dynamic profit zones to tell you where it's going to go. If you are a gold member, that is just $397. I'll give you a quick hack. If you're not a member, and even if you don't even want to be a member, you can click here, sign up for a $7 trial, and save the $100. Okay, the explosive bundle, and no, that is not for irritable bowel syndrome, but the explosive bundle, which comes with the squeeze, which actually is explosive, you can get the multi-cross indicator, the dynamic profit zones, which we've talked about, and then that multi-squeeze indicator that sits below the multi-cross so that you can see that the multi-crosses and the squeezes on every time frame. I can tell you right now that those two things together are the most powerful thing that I've ever come across in doing this, and I will not look at a chart without them. So that's been my experience with it. So with this, again, if you're a non-member, it's just $697, which I think is incredibly reasonable in terms of the ROI, the immediate ROI impact you can get on this. If you're a member, just log in and you can
Looks like John might have had a brief issue there. I can look over, his computer hasn't blue screened or anything, so I bet you he'll be back on in just a moment. Yeah, you can hear me. I don't know what that was. That to me looked like some sort of a hard Chrome crash or something really weird. There we go. He's back on, so I'll get out of the way.
that
Sorry,
was
Casey.
interesting. Can you guys hear me okay? Is that UFO that came by? Okay. So I don't. What was the last thing I said? Something about was that when I was talking about Blue Cross Blue Shield and the benefits? Okay. So okay. So I got to the irritable bowel syndrome relief, and then so the strategic bundle. All that is, the only difference there is that also comes with that deep stats tool, which again, most of you don't need it. But if you really like to geek out and get into the stats, that deep stats tool is very powerful. Also, all of these come with a full live trading session. So yeah, it's been great that I've been able to show you some of the results here on PowerPoint, right? Well, anybody can go and find results on PowerPoint. What I like to do is go do a live trading session so you can see these indicators in action. And what we'll do that day is we're going to set up swing trades with options. We'll set up some day trades with options and futures. So you can just practice with it and you can answer questions. And so that live trading session comes with any one of these bundles. Okay. Okay. So let's dive in here and see what questions you guys have. I'll show you a couple of extra things here. Again, if you want that hack, just click on if you're not a member, just click on become a member. Again, it's $7. I just say, hey, milk us for 30 days and then cancel. If for some reason you like it, it's actually a great membership. You get text alerts to your phone in terms of new trades that we're taking. You get there's all kinds of cool things. Okay, so that's that. And then, so why do the live trading day? So guess what? The live trading day comes with this. So if you do purchase any one of those bundles, then you will get the live trading included. So the live trading, we're going to be talking about, look, what are specific setups when to buy calls or buy the stock or buy the futures, okay? Or buy puts, right? If there's some short trades, we'll do that too. When to hedge, when to instead do a debit or credit spread, when to use a neutral strategy, how to time trades against levels, how to manage trades, okay? Best time frames and all that kind of stuff. And we'll have plenty of time for questions as well. John, if we have already bought the multi-time frame crossover, can we get the single dynamic target for 197? Okay, that's a good question. I don't know. Let's look here. So let me go through this and I'll find out for you. So the 497 bundle includes, again, the multi-cross indicator, and you can see that's the one on the top here, and then the profit zones indicator, and that's that line, and a live trading session. That's my office and what it looks like and all that kind of fun stuff. And so that's where I do all my classes. And then the explosive bundle for I can't get that out of my mind, for your irritable bowel syndrome, includes the multi-cross indicator, the dynamic profit zones indicator, but it also includes the multi-squeeze indicator. And I got to tell you, this combination of the multi-squeeze and the multi-cross, for me, I cannot look at a chart without it. And then the bonus is just these profit zones. All right. And of course, that still has the live trading session. And okay, so that's that. So yeah, now I think if you go to the sales page, and I will bring it up real quick, I think you can buy these a la carte if you want. You don't have to buy the bundle, and I think the pricing is different. But if you go to the sales page, it'll tell you that. And then, by the way, I believe that once you get any of the packages, a couple people have asked about the 10x bars. All right, so if you go here and just scroll down, of course, there's tons of information here. You can read more about it and all that kind of stuff, right? If you go and you buy these and add it to the cart, and you choose your platform and all that kind of stuff, when you go to the thank you page, there will be the opportunity actually to get my other two favorite indicators, the 10x bars and the RAF indicator, at a discount. And there'll be I think it's a coupon code or something like that that you'll get. But just so you know, that I believe that with any of these bundles, once you get it on the thank you page, you'll have the opportunity to also get the 10x bars and the RAF if you want. And just as a reminder, those 10x bars, so the 10x bars are right here, and those are the ones that they turn green when the momentum shifts, and if there's dots, that just means that there's an increase in volume. It's super powerful. This is the trade where I made the $38,000 on Amazon with a combination of these and then watching those 10x bars. And of course, you can see the little 5-minute squeeze here is what caused it all to start. So they all work together really, really, really well is what happens at the end of the day. Let's see. That is a good question. When is the live trading? If somebody knows, or are we still looking at that? Oh, and I just need to forward the. All right, so we got that. And you guys don't need that. And I just lost, oh, there we go. All right, so what questions do you guys have? So again, for me, at the end of the day, this is just about making your trading life easier. And okay, that is not. I've got multiple windows open here, so I'm just trying to see where this went. Oh, there it is. Whew. Okay, so what if you bought all this already and would be interested in participating in the live trading again? So I believe for the live trading, there's a price for that, and it is available separately on the page. And let me see if I can find that real quick. And the live trading, the goal of the live trading class is we actually make enough money during the day to pay for the class if you're trading a one lot. So that's kind of the, obviously it's, I don't know exactly what's going to happen that day in the markets, but, with the tools, you can kind of adjust to what's happening and place trades to do that. So if you go down and just kind of scroll down, I do think that there is an area that'll talk about that. Bonus live trading session. Yeah, so if you're a member, it's just $197 if you just want to do it for the day. So you can go through a la carte and just look at, you know, if none of the bundles make sense, if you want to go and look a la carte, it's right down there. Yep, and so Central Time, so market hours, so you know, market hours, the cash session is essentially 8:30 to 3 Central Time, and that's when we do the live trading. Clay and ATX, I'm using TradeStation 9.5. I have not upgraded to 10. Yeah, me too. I'm on 9.5. Is the butt crack of dawn. Jonathan, where are you? Are you on the West Coast? I mean, that is early. So the 10X does not show on checkout. So no, I believe, and anybody correct me if I'm wrong, I believe what will happen is after you make the purchase, you're going to get to a thank you page, and then the thank you page will show you the 10X bars and the RAF. If that is incorrect, someone let me know, but that is how I understand that is working. If we took the class and have the indicators, can we come to the live class? You can, but it is for the, if you just scroll down, you can do the member discounted price on that. So it's just, I believe, just $197 as a member to do that. And yeah, and is that, let's see, the live trading. Let's see. If we already have the indicators, can we sign up for the live trading? Yep. So to sign up for the live trading, all you got to do is just go down. And if you have any problems with this, just, you know, you can give us a call. If you just go down here, you can get it right here. And again, remember, and if you just sign in, you'll see the member price. It's just $197. Yep, the indicators do work for TradeStation and Thinkorswim. Now, one common question that we get is like, hey, I've got Schwab, what do I do? So here's the suggestion that I have for you, is if you go to simplertrading.com/TOS, Thinkorswim, there's a link there. You sign up for a Thinkorswim account. That's where you can get discounted commissions through our link. You just put like $1,000 in it. It's not a cost. They don't charge you anything. You're just transferring money. It's your money. And then you can use all the tools on Thinkorswim, but still execute on Schwab or wherever you were used. So I do know that, you know, that's been a common practice as well. Do the indicators work on all markets? Absolutely, yes. Currencies, I use them on Bitcoin, and you know, you can. There are some kind of Bitcoin derivatives that you can track on both Thinkorswim and TradeStation. TradingView is another platform, but unfortunately these indicators aren't able to go on the TradingView. I have actually not found, believe it or not, because it seems like it's a lot of tools, but I have not found them to slow down Thinkorswim at all. I do know that we do not have it for interactive brokers. So I know that's another one where people is like, okay, fine, I'll throw them up on TOS, but I'll execute on IB. Ninja 8, we do have a lot of our indicators on. I don't know if they were able to do it for these. Let's see. What else we got here? Oh yeah, so the live trading is going to be Tuesday the 26th. Yep, Tuesday the 26th. I will likely sign on if I know that I can get help exporting these to TOS. Certainly, and we do have kind of a step-by-step guide on how to do it. And if you are new to TOS, we can help you with that. And I think what we'll maybe do is during the class is, or maybe we even do it separately, but let's say during the class, Eric, the guy who created the indicators, can certainly come on and spend some time walking you through them, and we'll just make sure that you're able to get it set up and everything like that too. Perfect. Yeah, and Eric actually has spent like a good solid hour plus going through all this, and so you guys will get access to the recording of that session, and we can send that to you, and that'll help you get everything set up. And then, you know, of course, any additional questions from there, just, you know, just let us know. I'm trying to make the purchase. The gateway keeps timing out. I guess that's a good problem. There's a lot of people are interested in these, but yeah. Let me see here. I don't know if we can get any more juice to the server or not. But that's always never fun. Okay, yeah. So let us know there. I mean, that's, you know, that's you know, obviously we can make sure you guys, if you know, if you guys want the indicators, make sure you get them. John, I just got the dynamic profit zones. The only one I was missing. Can you explain the makeup logic of the indicator? Yeah, so Jorge, the logic is derived from the deep stats tool, but what it does is it measures the average amount of time that a level will move away from a key moving average. So, for example, the levels that I like to look at are the average lengths it moves away from both the 21 and the 34 period moving average. So those are the ones that I use. So if you open up your indicator, you're going to see that you could watch like 6 different profit zones. Just watch the 21 and the 34. Those are the main ones. And I'll obviously talk about that in depth during the class too. Yeah, so Clay Motion, what happens is when you go through and you purchase one of the bundles, if you're interested in the RAF and the 10X bars, which by the way are fantastic, you'll get information on the thank you page that where you can get those and have a coupon to get a discount. John, I'm making money hand over fist during market hours and after. I love it. The great American entrepreneurial spirit. You know, the cool thing I love about trading, and I think this is just more of a, you know, just the independent strength, is I love the idea of building up a skill set where, look, if you just want to stay at home and just trade, and it's kind of a sense of freedom, right? And so that's what I like. It's a skill set, you know, and maybe, you know, even if you're starting off with a small sum of money, here's a trick for you guys that are trying to work on a trading plan and you're frustrated because you don't follow it. Look, if you can build up the skills of a trader, and you only got like, you know, you're only trading $10,000 or something like that. If you can show 12 months of good statements, you can manage money, and it doesn't have to be anything formal. You know, you can do some kind of, you know, pool together $500,000. You know, consult a lawyer, obviously, but if you got the chops and you can show it. So when you're trading, just think of it that way. Just think of it, okay, I'm building up my skill and I'm creating a record so I can prove to people that I can do this. So don't, once you have the skill set, it's a rare skill set that's out there. Okay, Evie. Okay, that's good to know. Yes. So, and then for those of you that actually want to venture down that road, it can be a pain for sure. You know, a lot of times when people, you've got to also find kind of the right personality that understands, you know, managed accounts and stuff like that. It's like everybody's, oh yeah, no, I don't mind. Then it's down 2%. They freak out. Awesome, Gus. Good to know. And yeah, no, this is great. I mean, I love this. The team that we have is the best we've ever had. We've got amazing tools and great traders that are using the tools. And the whole idea is just like, look, this is a platform, you know, not only where we can share our experiences and hopefully make your lives easier, but then you have an opportunity to actually meet other traders as well. I mean, for me, when I started off trading, it was a lonely business. Like nobody else I knew traded. So I just got to talk to myself in the mirror, which after a while is questionable behavior at best. Is there a scanner to find stocks on the move? So yes, so not to complicate things, but the scanner I use is our own internal scanner. And it is, if you go to simpler, since our sales page is not working, you can go to, well, I don't know if this would be either, .com/scanner, and then that's where our scanner is. You can sign up for that, but I think it's like 79 bucks a month. That's where all the best trades we find are right there. So it's, high short interest stocks, squeezes, all that kind of stuff. And that way you can kind of really narrow down, what you're looking at. And then let me check here. I'll check the sales page too. So are you guys still having problems with it? I'll just, obviously, if you guys want to get these, I want to make sure you can. Okay, yeah. So we'll see if we can call the server company here too. I mean, yeah, we shouldn't. And obviously we'll let this was we'll plan to keep this available until you guys can actually make your purchase if you want to. Yeah, so I just did it and it took about 15 seconds to load. Took about 15 seconds to load, and I've got a fairly quick speed here. Steve, I already have the multi-squeeze indicator, but it won't populate any time frame under the one I'm currently viewing. Steve, so that's how it works. So what I do is that I have, I put two like this. So you'll notice here that I've got the daily chart right here, and over here I have the 1 minute chart, or I guess I have the 5 minute chart. But the 1 minute chart is the only one where you can view everything. So you can't view anything under it. So, I'm not looking at the 1 minute price action so much, but so I look at the 1 minute chart here to look at all this stuff. So I can see all the moving average crosses for 18 time frames and all of the squeezes for 18 time frames. That's really all I'm interested in there. And then over here on the daily chart, I'm looking at the profit zones and the squeeze, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Okay, Steve Amp. We'll yeah, obviously whatever issues you guys have, I mean, we'll work with you and make sure it's corrected. Yeah, and you can call us, and we can certainly help you. Where do I get the indicators after purchase? Well, so what'll happen is it does come automatically, auto-magically. So it is set up that once it's queued up to go, it just triggers off triggers off the order and it's sent to you. Do these packages include a single live trade session on June 26th or ongoing? Yes, it is the single live trading session on June 26th. So we'll just spend a full day together hanging out. So yep, that'll be June 26th. And then after that, if you would like, if you're if you would like to have more like live trading sessions, we have a live trading room as part of our gold membership plan. You can check that out, different things like that. But this is just so we can spend all day together during market hours, specifically focused on these tools, just in making sure you understand how to use them. We'll do live trading and all that kind of fun stuff. Well, there'll be multiple instructors during this training session. Since it's one day, it's going to be about probably 8:30 to about 10:30 or 11 myself, and then maybe one other person, and then from about 1:30 to 3:30 back to me is generally how we structure it. Yeah, so the bundle pricing, so the main thing with the bundle pricing is it is a limited time offer, but we will make sure for those of you that would like to get it and are having some issues right now, we certainly won't yank the rug out from under you. But the idea is, I think it was going to be 24 hours. We'll probably leave it open to the end of the week, or just making sure that you've got plenty of time. All right. All right, cool guys. Any plans for a futures full live class? At some point we will. I will, on that live trading session, I will be trading futures as well. So it definitely will be a hybrid of indexes as well as, not so much the grains and stuff like that, but just because we'll be doing stocks, I'll be focusing on indexes as well. Restate the bundle. Okay, sure. So, so how this works is that you're going to see the bundle price here is $497. If you are a gold member to our options room, it's actually just $397. So if you want a quick hack and you're thinking like, well, I'm not a member, click here to become a member. It's just $7 to do a 30-day trial. And look, after 30 days, if you want to cancel, that's totally fine. But with that, then you can take advantage of the discount. So if you're not a member and you're like, you know what, because some people are like, you know what, I am never doing a subscription in my life to anything. I totally get you. It's just a little bit higher priced in that situation. So $497, you'll never hear from us again. $697, $997. If you're a member, log in, and then the prices are, you can see $100 off in each case. And then if you're not a member and want a quick hack, just click here. Do the thing, $7, you're now a member, log in, and then you're also eligible for the discounted prices. Yes, okay, so right now in terms of brokers, you do need to have Thinkorswim or TradeStation. If you don't have either, I do recommend getting Thinkorswim. It's a free platform. It's very powerful. Once you open up an account, just transfer some funds. I don't think you even have to do very much. And again, it's not a cost, it's your money. Just, they'll just, now you're legitimate. And then, yeah, keep your broker. And then then you can just execute the trades on your other broker. Yeah, Kirk, absolutely. We certainly will yeah, we'll give you guys time to watch the webinar and all that fun stuff. If you have TOS and TradeStation, can you download both? You can. I believe you do not actually have to pay for both. I think there's a setup fee. It's like a small setup fee if you want both. But anyway, just pick one, order one, and then give us a call. Yeah, so I do know about, and that is frustrating with Thinkorswim. It's not available so much outside. So in that case, I would go, definitely go with if you're looking for something like that, doing TradeStation. If you're like, okay, I want to get this stuff. Yeah, and we are actually building out more stuff for other platforms like Sierra Charts. Sierra Charts is great. Takes a little bit more time sometimes to get the indicators converted for it. Yeah, Chris, my apologies for that. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the sales page there and the timeout issues and things like that. We're certainly going to talk to our servers and see what's going on there, but making sure that, we'll obviously leave this package available until you can actually get on there. Steve, I bought the indicators. Will the trades be texted out next Tuesday? So we did do texts. We did do text during the live class, and it does require you that you need to sign up for our app, and we will send out instructions for that. Is there a reduced price if I cannot make the live trade day on June 26th? There is not. It is just kind of a bonus. However, we will record it, and then, you know, if you can't attend it live, you certainly can watch it at your leisure. How do I access the indicators after I've purchased them? So you will get an email that will have where you can download the indicators from your email. And yes, of course, and for those of you that cannot access the page tonight due to the error, and it's weird, it's some people are okay, but it sounds like it's generally slow. We're certainly going to leave this special open until, you know, you guys can get that taken care of. Yes, Massey, what question do you have? I just see right now it says, are your questions coming through? Okay, yeah, and Mike, certainly any errors that you might have, we'll certainly take care of those. How important is the deep stats tool? Okay, so good question. So it's really it's important just based on what kind of stuff you like to look at. So as an example here, so here is the deep stats tool in all its glory. And, you know, let's pick a stock that we haven't talked about. We could try Netflix. No, Tesla. Okay, so Tesla. So what are some stats on Tesla? The best exponential moving average to buy on a daily chart is of any pullbacks to the 10-period moving average. Typically, if this stock crosses above its 21-period moving average, it's going to move $23.28 over 7 bars. Okay, in this case, it's actually moved a lot more, but again, that's just good data. If we take a look at Adobe, which we looked at earlier, and if you remember Adobe, you know, here was that one squeeze I was talking about that petered out right here. Okay, and there's the profit zones. And then this next one was able to actually, the profit zones were a little higher, so you're able to kind of push through. But if we're looking at the stats right now, it's like, okay, the best moving average on Tesla was the 10-period moving average. Conversely, on Adobe, it's the 15, okay? And then on this stock, if it breaks the 8 EMA, when it breaks the 8 EMA, it actually will hold the 21 EMA 50% of the time. Okay, that's good to know, right? If it breaks the 21 EMA, it'll hold the 34 EMA 12% of the time, or 10% of the time. If it crosses the 21-period moving average, back up across it, on average, it's going to move 4% or $10.26 over 9 bars. So again, that's what I mean. It's just stats. And if that's stats that you get into, then it's a cool tool. I like it. It gives me some good information. And that's for bullish. You also have it for bearish as well. So that's what it is, and all that kind of fun stuff. And that's just included if you look at the strategic bundle. And that thing by itself is going to be listed on our site for $797. So essentially for $897 with the member pricing, you're getting the deep stats tool, the multi-squeeze indicator, the dynamic profit zones, and the multi-cross. So essentially, I mean, let me add those up real quick but I mean, that's like 5,000, so 1,800. I mean, that's like 1,900 plus for 897. So I mean, it's a pretty good deal. What is the difference between the top hats and the dynamic profit zones indicator? So the top hats are extreme moves where it's like, look, it's rare that it's going to get to this level of extreme. And so the top hats generally show the extent of a move under extreme conditions, and the profit zones are just in its normal movement. So while the top hats are like, hey, by the way, this top right here is an extreme top, you could actually expect a major reversal. Whereas the profit zones are just kind of like, yeah, hey, we're ready to go back to the 21. We're a little stretched from the 21. It doesn't mean that the stock itself is so stretched that it can't go up any higher, i.e. profit zones goes back to the 21 and bounces and makes new highs. Whereas the top hats could be like, this is done. Are there tutorials on how to use all these indicators? Yes, there are. There is. That'll be included with this, about a little over an hour of recordings of tutorials on more how to set them up, how to use them, and all that kind of stuff as well. And of course, we'll be talking about it during the live trading. And Randy, if you do want to do the live trading, you can just scroll down and there's an a la carte button. And as a member, I believe it's just like $197, just to add that and just do the live trading. And John, in the future, that best EMA can change the deep stats will change automatically. Can change. If I think, well, it does change over time. It does. Is that what you're asking? I mean, it does change based on the data. Is profit zone similar to the expected move? So no, not at all. It's very much, the profit zones are very much related to how price interacts with its exponential moving averages over time and the probability that it's going to revert back to the mean. If watching the multi-cross timeframes turn from red to green can help you in the trade, do you watch the signals for an exit too? Yes. So great question. So, if you're long and they're all green and you start watching the, not just the 1 and the 2, right? But if the 1 through 15 all cross negative and, you're still in the position, it's like, man, this may be a little deeper than I thought. But the short answer is yes. Especially, and look, when you're up in the profit zones and like, oh, I got the 1, 2, and 3, I'm out. So I'd certainly get out a lot sooner on something like that. If I want to day trade futures, NQ or YM, will this help? So what I have found is for people that day trade futures, they have liked this the best. Because from the day trading perspective, those moving average crosses are, and guess what? A lot of the algos, that's how they're trading the futures as well. So they feel like it's given them a big edge. Bruce, you're saying you guys are not customer friendly. That's sad, especially since I like you guys. Well, first, my apologies. I do know that right now because of the web page being down, the phones are ringing like crazy. So if we're not able to answer your call, I certainly apologize, but we certainly want to make sure, you get your questions answered and all that kind of stuff. How about Raghee's day trades versus this? So her grab candles actually work well with this as well. So what you'll find are there's tools like that just work really well with these. Is the 15-minute time frame your line in the sand? Yeah. I mean, the 15. I mean, once you cross the 15, that's kind of a lot on a pullback. So it depends. Like, so if I'm like at the 21 period moving average and I'm looking for a move higher, then I'm not going to be as concerned. I'm willing to kind of sit through some wiggles. But if we rally into the profit zones, and typically if we rally into the profit zones, I'm going to take off half my position, trail at my stop. But if we're in the profit zones and I'm already skeptical that it's going to be able to go any higher anyway, but sometimes I might hold on and see if it can push through. Yeah, if we're getting 10 and 15-minute crosses, I'm like, well, the hell with this. We've already booked our gains. But what's great about that is if you get in the profit zones like Shaq just kept on going. So you can actually, that's squeezed an extra $4 out of the stock price, which of course is exponential on the underlying options price. Oh, thanks, Kelly. No, I think that his frustration was from, it's just, he's asking questions and it's not able to answer all the questions fast enough. Oh, if you already have that, can you? Yeah, I mean, you can call if you've already got some of them and the bundles don't quite match up. Yeah, just give us a call. John, do you have a chart on TradeStation showing these? I don't. But during the tutorial, Eric he shows them on both TradeStation and Thinkorswim for sure. Yeah, so for the 1 through the 15 for day trading, absolutely. I mean, and for the turns, I like to look at the bigger time frames too, just to kind of see, make sure I know what the bigger trend is. John, to use the daily profit zones mostly on the daily time frame. So the answer, Jorge, is yes. I will look at them if I'm like trading the futures on a 30-minute chart. You could certainly use them on a 30-minute chart as well. But the daily chart does drive so much. And so that's the main ones that I look at for sure. Now, if I'm taking a weekly squeeze, I will actually take into consideration the weekly profit zones, right? So if it's a daily squeeze, I'll do the daily. How long until the order is fulfilled after purchase? I believe we have it set it up automatically. So once it's processed, you'll just get an email with your information. I missed the webinar. Are the indicators on your website for me to take a look? Well, if you can, I think our sales page is having some issues right now, but if you go to simplertrading.com/bundle, there is information on the indicators. All right. Oh, Jennifer, good question. So are these indicators a one-time purchase or are they a monthly fee? So the good news here is that this 397 and the 597 and the 897 is not a monthly fee, but it is a one-time purchase. Oh, sure. Yeah. So here's how I have it set up. If you're looking at these. So again, on the here, I won't do anything here, so you can take a snapshot if you want. But essentially, keep in mind the main takeaways here is that I've got the 1-minute chart, okay? And on the 1-minute chart, the only reason I'm using that is so I can see all 18 time frames of the multi-cross and all 18 time frames of the squeeze. I don't really care about the price action. And then on the daily chart, I'm looking at the profit zones. Of course, I'm looking at the squeeze, and then I'm looking at the deep stats tool. And then these are the 10x bars. So the TTM squeeze is actually already built onto the Thinkorswim platform. So if you go to indicators and add study, and you'll see John Carter studies, and then you'll see TTM squeeze. And so that's already on there. And yeah, you'll see, and then so you can see the squeeze for the 5-minute, for the 2-hour, for the 20-minute as well. Do the 10x bars do the same as Raghee's grab candles? So the logic behind them is different. But if you like the grab candles and the turns that they create, then yeah, I would just use those. If we attended the course and we attended the live event, is there anything different in this upcoming live event? Well, the only thing different is going to be the trades. So the trades, like for a live event, the trades are always totally different, right? Because it depends what's setting up. So on the last live one, we traded Baidu and Baba and Shack and PayPal. So on Tuesday, we're probably not going to be trading any of those because they've already triggered. So we'll be looking at new trades. Is the market going to be up or down? I don't know. So we'll be trading accordingly. Are the 10x bars the same as the average true range? Okay, no. So they're based on the ADX. So if they're, I don't remember exactly, but it's something like, if it's green, it means the ADX is like over 20, etc. Okay. Yeah, and if you guys it sounds like our server may be up and running better now. If you guys want to try again. Obviously, apologies for any issues there. It sounds like it may have just gotten slammed and just needed to open up a little teeny bit of the bandwidth there. If you go to simplertrading.com/bundle, in theory, that could work. But if not, we'll continue working on it. Okay, yeah, and you can obviously give us a call too. No, Jorge, that's great. So yeah, no, I know, and I think it's like it's interesting just from at least all the conversations that I had, especially in March. It was like, okay, there's got to be some tools to help with some of these frustrations. So I'm glad to hear that. Is the gold room for options the same as the old trading room? Yes. So we have a room for futures, and we also have a site on cryptocurrencies as well. But so the gold room is basically that's our biggest room. That's the one where we focused on mostly options, and just the markets in general. Excellent. Hey Nick, yeah, the webinar absolutely was recorded, and we will certainly send it out. Yeah, and if you were charged multiple times, if you don't want a refund, we can send you a case of high brew coffee. Ba-dum-bum. No, so if you buy the indicators for one platform and then you want them from another, I believe it's just kind of like a small setup fee for the additional set. Yeah, no, you certainly won't get dinged on both of them. Where do you get your trading fuel coffee mugs? We should actually probably put those on the site, and maybe they are on our site. I don't know, but we have some I've got a coffee mug here that says "Don't be a dick for a tick," which is, it's actually a good one to trade from because it reminds you to not be a dick for a tick while you're trading. Lorna, John, thank you for this. I've been more successful with these tools in the last 2 weeks than almost the last 2 years. That's awesome, Lorna. Look, that is essentially why we do this, right? I think that the markets are rigged to kind of trick people out of their money, and if we can kind of, create tools that give us a fair advantage against the computers and stuff like that, and you can actually feel confident to do this and create an income from it, and that's what it's all about. Do you teach us how to read the indicator? So absolutely. So that's what the live trading session is for. You know, and you'll certainly going to get a recording of, you know, from Eric, who created these indicators. He's going to kind of, you know, take you into a deep dive and how to set them up and how they work. And then during the live trading, I'm just going to show you how to use them. You know, for real, like not in theory, but like in actual trades. I appreciate it. 4 rounds. John, can other brokers and hedges see our stops and profit targets or their place on the ladder? So believe it or not, the answer is no. But here's the thing to that. Everybody's placing their stops in the same damn place. So, you know, if there's a prior low, guess what? The computers know that they should probably go down there and see if there's any, because what they do is they look for liquidity, and stop losses are liquidity. So what, you know, sometimes it feels like the market is actually gunning for your stop in particular, but they don't move, you know, billions of dollars for our 100 lot, right? So, but I will show you some tricks during the live trading to stay out of that mess. You just got to understand how the markets ebb and flow, and just make sure you're on the right side of that. There's a cycle where you get accumulation by the smart money, and then they distribute it, and then they kind of suck people in, and you can't, if you get caught up in that cycle, you're toast. So I'm going to explain during the live trading. I'll explain that. John, do you have a future chat room? We actually do. So we have 2 main rooms, an options room where obviously we're focusing on the indexes, but from an options perspective as well as individual stocks. And then we have a futures room where it's all futures all the time. Which indicators did you use on Amazon? It was amazing. Yeah, these indicators, you're looking at them right here. So the multi-cross indicator, dynamics profit zones indicator, multi-squeeze, deep stats tool, and then, you know, even those 10x bars. Yeah, you know, Mike, if you go to the home page, I believe you would find information on the futures there. So here, I'll bring that up too. Yeah, so if you just kind of scroll down, yeah, so right down in there. Okay, Mike is saying my order for the explosive bundle got filled, but got no page or coupon for the 10x or RAF. Can anybody tell me how that's working? Like how so once they place the order, at what point do they get an email with the RAF? Is it on the thank you page? That seems to be a point of confusion. Oh, nice, Darrell. Awesome. Got it. Okay. Yeah. So what we found is that I guess the thank you page was kind of messing things up. So now what'll happen is you guys will place the order, and then we'll just follow up with an email that will give you information about the 10x bars as well as RAF and all that kind of stuff. How long does it take for the emails to come through once we've placed the order? I believe it's actually right away. Yeah, so I do see a couple, my question to say is the same as his. It shows I purchased, but nothing else. It timed out at the gateway. And we'll certainly follow up on on anything like that and make sure you guys obviously get those. How long will this bundle be available? We were going to do it for 24 hours, but I'm pretty confident we're going to be leaving it up longer, just to make sure you guys are able to get this. Is the top hat indicator part of the bundle? It is not. We do have an indicator page if there are other tools out there that you're interested in, for sure, though. Yeah, and just be sure if you don't see, the email is sent out right away. So if for some reason you don't see it, certainly check your spam, bulk, all that kind of stuff. Will these tools allow opportunities to sell premium closer to the money? Steve, that's one thing I've found, especially, so, like that Amazon trade that I was talking about, when it's rotating, in that case, I did buy calls, but you could certainly sell an at the money put credit spread at that moment in time as well. And obviously take advantage of the premium decay, which, obviously gives you a little bit higher probability of a trade. In the futures room, what markets are they trading? They do trade a lot of the indexes, of course, but they do look at bonds and crude and stuff like that as well. Dwayne, I apologize. We will certainly get that taken care of. So I know the phone lines are kind of jammed right now, but you can certainly send us an email too, just support@simplertrading.com. We will certainly get you taken care of. Okay, very good. All right, let's see what other questions. John, I have the multi-squeeze, but I want the dynamic bundle and deep stats. What is the price for that bundle? Oh, I see what you're saying, because all four, right? So yeah, the best thing to do is just give us, just give us a call. Like I said, everybody's jammed right now on the phones. You could also send us an email. Best email is support. So support at simplertrading.com. Okay, yeah, Steely, absolutely. We'll certainly take care of that. Kelly D, that's awesome. I should ask Alexa to play us some music right now. Well, what's funny, sometimes I can say, Alexa, play Tom Petty, Free Falling. And then not only will my Alexa play it, but everybody who's listening on the webinar that has an Alexa within earshot will also play it. So that's always fun. It is, yeah. I see a couple people going, my Alexa just went off and is playing it. That's hilarious. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I discovered that by accident one day in the trading room. I was learning my Alexa and I was just doing stuff with the mic open, and everybody's like, hey, my Alexa's doing the same thing. So it's kind of a interesting phenomena. Oh, interesting. There go the markets. Yeah, maybe Google will actually go make new highs again tomorrow. That would be nice. Oh, yeah. So let's look here. Let's bring up the markets real quick. So let's see what's going on here on the NASDAQ. We are up 35 points. That's pretty legit. And this is refreshing. This one is refreshing. So come on now. Yeah, I don't know why this price isn't updating here right now. So yeah, the futures are up 35 points. Let me see here on. Yeah, nice little move there. So the NASDAQ, oh yeah, taking out the highs. So yeah, that should be, if it can last overnight, you know, it should be good for everything tomorrow. Jace, that's funny. All right. Do these bundles allow you to incorporate the same indicators shown in the webinar, and how is this possible? Yeah, so the bundle, the strategic bundle, includes 4 of the indicators on the screen. So it includes, let's see here. It includes that. That's the multi-cross. This is the multi-squeeze. It includes the profit zones. And then if you do the full package, you get the deep stats tool. Now the squeeze, if you get Thinkorswim, is actually on Thinkorswim. So that's already on there. And then you'll get an email if you are interested in like the 10x bars, which I like. I personally find them super useful. Stephanie did it. That's funny. Should I say, Alexa, play a lullaby for my child? Please. That's funny. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? It's how do the 10x bars differ from the grab candles? So the grab candles, I mean, so the logic is just different. There's some similar ideas there, but what the 10x bars do is they take a combination of ADX and volume, and then they plot that on the bars. And then, yeah, Nasdaqs are holding up. The Nasdaq's holding up 37 points. So yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow. We had there's a weird sell-off today on light volume. So a lot of times when that happens, the markets get jacked up overnight. How is the RAF and the multi-squeeze different? So good question. Let's take a look. And so the multi-squeeze, so with the RAF is more about turning points. Okay, so here's the NASDAQ futures, right? So let's do the NASDAQ futures here on a 5-minute chart. And so you can see like here earlier today, I mean, essentially what I look for is that when you get below the blue line and you get a purple arrow, that's essentially a buy signal, you know. And then what I like to look for here is like on a daily chart, for example, like Amazon recently had a really solid RAF squeeze signal. And so you can see here when there's a squeeze and then you get an RAF buy, and in this case like that, that's a great buy signal. So the RAF is really more of a turning point, and then the multi-squeeze is just telling you like, hey, heads up, over the 18 time frames that I'm watching for you, you know, 6 of them have squeezes. Whereas the RAF is just telling you, hey, the chart that you're looking at is about to turn. Awesome, Rick. Good to, yeah, we'll see you on the class. So yeah, we'll see. And so I'm, and by the way, we do polls in the live trading room. And the last poll I did on Tuesday morning, 80% of the people thought the market would close lower, and only 20% thought it would close higher. When you, that's really valuable information. And typically when everybody sees that, they're like, oh my God, I'm covering my shorts. Typically, you know, the crowd is always wrong. So tomorrow when it gaps up, I'll do, I think I'm in the room at 11:30 tomorrow. I'll do another poll, and then it's, you know, it's great. And obviously I share that with the room. So it's, I always say, look, put in what you really think, because it's going to help you to know how you and everybody else are collectively thinking right now. Which room am I in the most often? So I do the options room. I go, you know, I used to actually do futures a lot more, but in terms of time management, it's more, you know, I'm definitely more focused on swing trades and things like that at the moment. Oh, I like that, Nakota. How about getting Eric to put Alexa into toss to bring up charts? All right, guys. Well, it's 9 o'clock. We've been here for a little while. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave this page up. Again, apologies for the web page. You know, we're obviously a small company, and we do the best we can with the technology, but certainly going to make sure that you get all your orders and stuff like that fulfilled. And again, all you got to do is just type in, and it sounds like the page is actually working now. If you type in simplertrading.com/bundle, you can go there, and then you'll get an email follow-up with the additional indicators. And then, of course, the live trading part is going to be next Tuesday, June 26th. Yeah, at the mercy of AWS. Yeah, currencies are going nuts. There must have been some kind of an announcement on trade, or who knows. Good job, guys. All right. Thanks for joining us tonight. Have a fantastic evening. And again, any customer service issues you guys have, we will certainly take care of. And for those of you that are joining us on the live trading or doing one of the bundles, I'll see you next Tuesday, the 26th. And for those of you in the room, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a fantastic evening, and we will see you on the other side.